The human ship descended through purple clouds that wrapped around the Zarathian capital like silk ribbons. Inside the diplomatic shuttle, Dr. Emma Clark pressed her face against the window, watching towers of black crystal rise from the ground like frozen flames. She had studied the Zarathians for 2 years, preparing for this moment, but nothing compared to seeing their world with her own eyes. Nervous? Ambassador Kevin Morris asked from the seat beside her. Emma pulled back from the window. Excited. This is the first time humans have been invited to their homeworld. Let's hope we don't mess it up, Kevin said with a slight smile. The shuttle landed in a courtyard larger than any stadium Emma had ever seen. Zarathian guards stood at attention along the edges, their dark blue skin gleaming in the light of 3 distant suns. They wore armor that seemed to grow from their bodies, organic and metallic at the same time. Each one stood nearly 8 feet tall. Emma followed Kevin down the shuttle ramp. The air smelled strange, like copper and flowers mixed together. A delegation of Zarathians waited at the bottom, their faces unreadable. The lead diplomat, whose name Emma had practiced pronouncing dozens of times, stepped forward. Ambassador Morris, Dr. Clark, welcome to Zarath Prime. The Emperor awaits. They walked through corridors that twisted and curved in ways that made Emma dizzy. The walls pulsed with faint light, as if the building itself were alive. Zarathian citizens watched them pass, their large eyes tracking every movement. Emma heard whispers in their clicking language. They seem agitated, she whispered to Kevin. Yeah, the briefing mentioned political tensions, he replied quietly. Stay alert. They entered a throne room that took Emma's breath away. The ceiling stretched up so high she couldn't see the top. Light fell in shafts from somewhere above, creating pools of brightness on the dark floor. At the far end, on a throne carved from a single piece of white stone, sat Emperor Kethval. But Emma's attention caught on something else. To the left of the throne, behind a wall of clear crystal, lay a young Zarathian woman on a raised platform. Even from a distance, Emma could see she was sick. Very sick. The woman's skin had faded to a pale gray, and her breathing seemed labored. Kevin performed the formal greeting ritual they had practiced. Emma followed his lead, bowing at the correct angle and speaking the prepared words. But her eyes kept drifting back to the sick woman. You honor us with your presence, the Emperor said in perfect English. His voice carried weight, like stones grinding together. We welcome the first humans to walk our sacred halls. The honor is ours, Your Majesty, Kevin replied. Earth sends its deepest respect. The formal exchanges continued. Emma tried to focus, but medical training pulled her attention. The woman behind the crystal showed signs of severe illness. Muscle wasting, skin discoloration, respiratory distress. Emma's mind automatically ran through possible diagnoses. A Zarathian in elaborate robes stood near the crystal wall. His posture radiated authority and something else. Resignation, Emma thought. Defeat. After the greeting ceremony ended, servants guided them to quarters in the palace. Emma unpacked quickly, her mind still on the sick woman. She found Kevin in the common area between their rooms. Who was she? Emma asked. The woman in the crystal chamber. Kevin pulled out his tablet. Princess Lyra Velterin, third in line for the throne. According to our briefing, she's dying from some kind of wasting disease. The Zarathians have tried everything. How long has she been sick? 8 months. Getting worse every week. Kevin looked up from the tablet. Why? Just curious, Emma said, but her mind was already working. That evening, they attended a formal dinner. The Zarathian food looked beautiful but tasted like bitter metal to Emma's human palate. She forced herself to eat politely while listening to conversations around the table. Such a tragedy about Princess Lyra, one of the Zarathian nobles said. Ikem, the people adore her. High Physician Zarkoth has done everything possible, another replied. If he cannot save her, no one can. Emma felt a chill. She recognized that kind of certainty. It was the voice of someone who had given up. The next morning, Emma requested permission to observe a religious ceremony. Kevin approved, thinking it would help her understand Zarathian culture better. Guards escorted her to a large hall where hundreds of Zarathians gathered. Priests burned incense in golden bowls, filling the air with thick, sweet smoke. Emma watched the ritual carefully, taking mental notes. Then she noticed something. Through a side entrance, servants wheeled in the crystal chamber containing Princess Lyra. They positioned her near the front, where the incense smoke was thickest. Emma's medical instincts screamed, and she watched how the smoke curled around the chamber, how vents drew it close to where Lyra lay. She observed the princess's breathing become more labored as the ceremony continued. When the ceremony ended, Emma returned to her quarters and immediately started researching. She pulled up everything she knew about Zarathian biology, cross-referencing it with the symptoms she had observed. Her hands moved quickly across her tablet, building a picture. 3 hours later, she had a theory. A terrible, simple theory. Emma found Kevin reviewing diplomatic protocols. "I need to examine Princess Lyra," she said, without preamble. Kevin looked up, startled. "What?" "Emma, that's not why we're here. We're here to establish trade relations and—" "She's being poisoned," Emma interrupted. "Not deliberately, probably. Yeah, but I think I know what's killing her." Kevin set down his tablet slowly. "That's a serious accusation." "It's not an accusation, it's a diagnosis. But I need to examine her to be sure." "The Zarathians have the best medical technology in this sector. If their physicians can't help her, they're looking in the wrong place," Emma said. "Different biology means different blind spots." "Please, Kevin, request an audience. What's the worst that can happen?" Kevin sighed. "They could take offense and end the diplomatic mission. They could imprison us for insulting their medical capabilities. They could, or I could save her life." The next day, they stood before Emperor Kethval again. Kevin made the request as diplomatically as possible. Emma watched the Emperor's face, seeing hope war with skepticism. High Physician Zarkoth stepped forward. He was elderly for a Zarathian, his skin marked with the patterns of age. His eyes fixed on Emma with something close to contempt. "You presume much human," he said. "I have treated Princess Lyra for 8 months. I have employed every technique known to Zarathian medicine. What makes you think your primitive understanding could succeed where I have failed?" Emma met his gaze steadily. "Because sometimes an outside perspective sees what familiarity misses." Zarkoth's laugh was harsh. "You will not live," he said, pointing at the crystal chamber where Lyra lay. "She has days at most. You would waste her final hours with false hope." "Then what harm can I do?" Emma asked. "If she's already dying, let me try." The Emperor raised a hand, silencing Zarkoth. "You have 48 hours, Dr. Clark. No more. If you fail, you will not speak of this again." Emma bowed. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I won't fail." As guards escorted her toward the medical wing, Emma heard Zarkoth mutter behind her. "You will not live. None of you understand. She will not live." But Emma thought she heard something else in his voice. Not just medical certainty, something darker. Something like warning. The medical wing smelled different from the rest of the palace. Sharper. Clinical. Emma followed 2 guards through sliding doors that opened with a whisper. Her equipment cases floated behind her on Zarathian anti-gravity platforms, a courtesy from the Emperor himself. Princess Lyra's chamber sat in the center of a circular room. The crystal walls had been pulled back, giving Emma access. Up close, the princess looked even worse than Emma had feared. Her breathing came in shallow gasps. The gray tint to her skin had spread across her entire body, but her eyes were open, alert. They followed Emma as she approached. "You are the human doctor," Lyra said. Her voice was weak but clear. "The one who thinks she can save me when all others have failed." Emma set down her medical scanner. "I'm the one who's going to try, Your Highness." "Please, just Lyra. Titles seem pointless now." The princess managed a faint smile. "Zarkoth says I have 3 days left. Maybe 4 if I'm lucky." Zarkoth might be wrong. He has never been wrong before. Emma began unpacking her equipment. There's a first time for everything. A Zarathian officer stood near the door, watching Emma's every move. His armor bore marks of high rank. Captain Drenkar, according to the briefing. He was assigned to guard the princess and make sure Emma did nothing harmful. "What are those devices?" Drenkar demanded as Emma assembled her scanner. Medical equipment. I need to run some tests. Our physicians have already performed every test known to science. Emma didn't look up from her work. Then one more won't hurt. She activated her scanner and passed it slowly over Lyra's body. The device was designed to work with multiple species, translating alien biology into terms humans could understand. Data flowed across the screen. Heart rate elevated. Respiratory function at 40%. Liver equivalent showing signs of severe stress. Nervous system inflammation. But something didn't fit. The pattern was wrong for a disease. Tell me about your symptoms, Emma said. In your own words, not what the physicians recorded. Lyra took a careful breath. It started small, tiredness. I thought I was just working too hard. Then came headaches, dizziness. My appetite disappeared. Food tasted wrong. When did it start? Can you remember the exact time? Lyra thought for a moment. 8 months ago, after the Festival of Ancestors. I remember because I gave my first major speech that day. And you felt fine before the festival? Perfect health. I had just won the regional combat games. I was the strongest I had ever been. Emma's scanner beeped. She studied the results carefully. May I take a blood sample? Drenkar stepped forward. You will not extract anything from the princess. I need it for proper diagnosis, Emma said patiently. No. Lyra raised one weak hand. Letter, Captain. What does it matter now? The blood draw took seconds. Emma loaded the sample into her portable analyzer and waited for results. While the machine worked, she pulled up her tablet and contacted her research partner on the human ship. Nathan, I'm sending you data. I need you to cross-reference Zarathian ceremonial practices from 8 months ago. Dr. Nathan Price appeared on the small screen. What am I looking for? Anything that changed. New traditions. Different rituals, especially anything involving smoke or incense. On it. Give me 20 minutes. Emma turned back to Lyra. The ceremonies you attend. Are they always the same? Mostly prayer services, state functions. Why? I saw you at a ceremony yesterday. They brought you in your chamber and placed you near the incense. The sacred smoke, Lyra said. It's meant to bring healing and blessings. They started including me when I became sick, to help me recover. Emma felt her theory solidifying. And these ceremonies happen how often? 3 times per week, more if there are special occasions. The analyzer beeped. Emma read the results and felt her heart skip. There, in Lyra's blood, were markers she recognized. Histamine levels through the roof. Antibodies attacking healthy tissue. Trace elements of a compound that looked remarkably similar to proteins found in earth plants. Captain Drenkar, Emma said slowly, I need to see samples of the ceremonial incense, now. Absolutely not. The sacred smoke is blessed by priests. It cannot be given to outsiders. Then bring a priest here with a sample, or bring me to where it's stored. I don't care which. You overstep? On human. Emma spun to face him. Your princess is dying from what I believe is an allergic reaction. That incense you're pumping into her lungs 3 times a week might be killing her. Drenkar's hand moved to his weapon. You dare blame our sacred traditions? You accuse our faith of poisoning royalty? I'm not accusing anyone of anything, Emma said firmly. I'm saying her body is reacting badly to something in her environment. The incense is the most likely culprit. Impossible. The sacred smoke has been used for generations. Not on Lyra, apparently. She's unique somehow. Her biology is different. Lyra spoke from her bed, her voice quiet but steady. Dr. Clark, is this real? Or are you guessing? Emma met her eyes. I'm 90% certain, but I need to test the incense to be completely sure. And I need to start treatment immediately. Treatment for what? An allergy? Drenkar sounded incredulous. Our princess wastes away to nothing, and you claim a simple allergy is responsible? There's nothing simple about it. Long-term exposure to an allergen can cause exactly these symptoms. Organ damage, tissue breakdown, eventually death. Nathan's voice crackled over the communicator. Emma, I found something. 8 months ago, the Zarathian royal court started using a new blend of ceremonial incense. It was introduced by the high priest as a return to ancient traditions. What's in it? Emma demanded. Cross-referencing now. It contains compounds from a plant called Velshara, grows only in the northern mountains. According to records, it was banned from royal ceremonies 300 years ago, but the reason isn't listed. Emma's blood ran cold. Find out why it was banned. Working on it, she turned to Lyra. Have you ever been tested for allergies? No. Zarathians rarely develop allergies. Our immune systems are highly adaptive. Rarely isn't never, Emma said. And sometimes being unique means being vulnerable in unexpected ways. High Physician Zarkoth entered the room without warning. His robes swept the floor as he approached. I heard you are spreading dangerous theories, human, blaming our sacred practices for the princess's condition. I'm following the evidence, Emma replied. The evidence says she has blood rot, a degenerative disease with no cure. I have seen it before. Have you tested her for allergic reactions? Zarkoth's expression darkened. Such tests would be meaningless. As the princess said, we do not suffer from allergies. But she might. Look at these readings. Emma held out her tablet. Elevated histamine, antibody markers, inflammation patterns consistent with chronic exposure to an allergen. Zarkoth glanced at the screen and dismissed it with a wave. Human medical understanding applied to Zarathian biology. Meaningless. Then explain why her symptoms started exactly when the new incense was introduced. Coincidence? Coincidence? Emma felt anger rising. She was perfectly healthy, then suddenly got sick right when you changed the ceremonial smoke, and you think that's coincidence? I think you are desperate to appear useful, Zarkoth said coldly. You have 40 hours remaining. When you fail, you will leave and never return. He left as quickly as he'd arrived. Emma stood trembling with frustration. He seems very certain you're wrong, Lyra observed quietly. Emma took a deep breath. He spent 8 months treating you. Admitting I might be right means admitting he missed something obvious. That's hard for anyone. So what do? We prove it. Nathan, any luck on why that plant was banned? Nathan's voice returned. Found it. The Velshara plant was banned from royal ceremonies because it caused illness in members of House Velterin 3 centuries ago. Emma, that's Lyra's family line. Emma and Lyra locked eyes. It's genetic, Emma said softly. Your bloodline is allergic to that specific plant. Someone reintroduced it to the ceremonies 8 months ago, and it's been slowly poisoning you ever since. Lyra's eyes widened. But who would know that? Who would do such a thing? I don't know, Emma said. But right now, yes, I need to stop the exposure and start treatment. Captain Drenkar, I need the Emperor's permission to keep the princess away from all ceremonies until I can prove my theory. Drenkar stared at her for a long moment. Then he spoke into his communicator, requesting an emergency audience. Emma looked at Lyra. Trust me, please. The princess smiled faintly. I'm already dying. What do I have to lose? Everything, Emma thought. We both have everything to lose. Emperor Kethaval granted permission within the hour. No more ceremonies for Princess Lyra until Emma could prove her theory. High Physician Zarkoth protested loudly, claiming the sacred smoke was the only thing keeping Lyra alive. The Emperor overruled him. Emma began treatment immediately. She had brought medications designed to work across multiple species, antihistamines to calm the allergic reaction, chelation compounds to remove toxins from Lyra's blood, steroids to reduce inflammation, all carefully calculated for Zarathian biology. This will make you feel strange at first, Emma warned as she prepared the first injection. Your body needs to learn to stop attacking itself. Lyra didn't flinch as the needle went in. How long until we know if it's working? 12 hours for initial signs. 24 for real improvement, if I'm right. And if you're wrong? Emma met her eyes honestly. Then Zarkoth was correct. You have about 3 days left. Lieutenant Amy Foster arrived that evening with additional medical supplies from the human ship. She was young for a security officer, but her eyes were sharp and alert. She studied the Zorathian guards positioned around the medical wing with professional assessment. Tense situation, Amy said quietly to Emma. Half the palace thinks you're a miracle worker. The other half thinks you're making things worse. Which half is Zarkoth in? He's been meeting with court officials all day, telling anyone who will listen that human medicine will kill the princess faster. Emma checked Lyra's vital signs for the 10th time. No change yet. He really doesn't want me to succeed, does he? Can you blame him? If you cure her, his reputation is destroyed. Amy paused. The question is, how far will he go to make sure you fail? That night, Emma stayed by Lyra's bedside. The princess slept fitfully, her breathing still labored. Captain Drenkar remained at his post by the door, never sitting, never resting. And around midnight, Lyra woke with a gasp. Easy, Emma said, adjusting the monitors. You're safe. I had a dream, Lyra whispered. About dying. Just a dream. No, a memory. Lyra's eyes found Emma in the dim light. I've died before, twice. Emma went very still. What do you mean? The first time was during the combat games. My heart stopped for 3 minutes. They brought me back with emergency revival technology. The second time was 4 months ago. My organs failed. I was gone for almost 5 minutes before they restarted everything. Zarkoth never mentioned this. He wouldn't. It's considered shameful. Death is supposed to be final and honorable. Being brought back is seen as cheating fate. Lyra smiled sadly. I've seen the void, Emma. I've been to the place beyond life. It's cold and empty and silent. When they pull you back, part of you stays there. Emma's mind raced. The medical implications were staggering. That's why you're getting sicker faster than you should be. Your body has been through massive trauma. The revival technology saved you, but it weakened you. Made you more vulnerable. So I'm dying because I already died? No. You're dying because someone has been poisoning you, and your weakened state made it worse. Emma checked the medication levels. But knowing this helps. I can adjust treatment. A sound at the door made both women look up. Captain Drenkar had drawn his weapon. 3 palace guards stood in the hallway, looking uncertain. The High Physician demands entry, one of them said. He insists on checking the princess's condition. At midnight? Emma stood. She's resting. He can come back in the morning. He says it cannot wait. Drenkar blocked the doorway. The Emperor gave Dr. Clark authority over the princess's care. No one enters without her permission. The guards looked at each other. One spoke into a communicator. A moment later, Zarkoth's voice crackled through. Captain, I am the High Physician. I have a right to see my patient. She's not your patient anymore, Emma called out. She's mine, for the next 36 hours at least. Silence. Then footsteps retreating down the hall. He'll try again, Drenkar said quietly. He's desperate. Why? Emma asked. What's he so afraid of? Failure, disgrace, or perhaps something else? Drenkar's eyes were thoughtful. I've served the royal family for 20 years. I've watched Zarkoth treat hundreds of patients. I've never seen him so determined for someone to die. Emma felt a chill. You think he wants her dead? I think he knows something he's not telling us. Morning brought the first sign of hope. Lyra's breathing came easier. The gray tint to her skin had lightened slightly. Her vital signs showed marginal improvement. Not much, but something. I feel different, Lyra said, sitting up slightly. Clearer, like fog is lifting. Emma checked the monitors with shaking hands. The antihistamines are working. Your body is starting to heal. News spread through the palace quickly. Emma had visitors throughout the day. Nobles who wanted to see the miracle. Priests who wanted to bless the treatment. Scientists who wanted to study her methods. Captain Drenkar turned most of them away, but one visitor got through. An elderly Zorathian in scholar's robes appeared at the door in the afternoon. He bowed respectfully to Lyra. Princess, I am Scholar Ventara. I study royal history and ancient texts. I heard about Dr. Clark's theory concerning the Velshara incense. Yes? Emma said cautiously. I've been researching. The ban on Velshara was implemented 300 years ago by Emperor Rathval. He discovered that members of House Veltern suffered terrible reactions to the plant. Several died before the connection was made. We know this already, Emma said. But do you know why the ban was lifted 8 months ago? Ventera pulled out an ancient-looking tablet. I found records of the court meeting where it was discussed. High Priest Mordash proposed returning to the old ways. He said the ancient incense would bring greater blessings. But the proposal was supported by Court Chancellor Vexmore. Lyra's eyes narrowed. Vexmore supports my brother's claim to the throne. He's always believed I'm too soft to rule. The Velshara incense was reintroduced specifically for royal ceremonies, Ventera continued. Ceremonies that you were required to attend, Princess, while your siblings were conveniently exempt due to other duties. You're saying this was deliberate? Emma felt sick. Someone knowingly poisoned her? I'm saying the evidence suggests it, but I have no proof of intent. A crash echoed from the hallway. Amy Foster's voice shouted a warning. Emma spun to see palace guards pouring through the door, pushing past Drenkar. Behind them came Zarkoth, his face twisted with anger. Enough of this foolishness, he declared. The princess requires proper treatment. I remove this human and her primitive equipment. The Emperor gave me authority, Emma protested. The Emperor is not here. I am the High Physician, and I say this treatment ends now. Guards moved toward Emma's equipment. Amy stepped in front of them, hand on her weapon. Nobody touches that equipment. You would threaten Zarathian guards in our own palace? Zarkoth's voice rose. I would protect a patient receiving medical care, Amy said steadily. Lyra's voice cut through the chaos. Stop. She sat fully upright in bed, stronger than she'd been in months. All of you, stop this instant. Everyone froze. The princess rarely used her command voice, but when she did, people listened. Dr. Clark's treatment is working. I can feel it. For the first time in 8 months, I can breathe without pain. She fixed Zarkoth with a hard stare. Why are you so determined to stop her, High Physician? I am trying to save your life, Princess. By forcing me back to treatments that were killing me? Lyra's eyes blazed. Scholar Ventera just told me the Velshara was introduced deliberately. Tell me, Zarkoth, did you know about my family's allergy to that plant? The physician's face went pale. The ancient texts are not my specialty. That's not an answer. Princess, you must understand. What must I understand? That someone in this court wanted me dead? That you either helped them or were too incompetent to see what was happening? Zarkoth's hands trembled. I tried to warn you. I told the human you would not live. I tried to make her stop. Why? Emma demanded. If you knew I could save her, why stop me? Because they told me to. The words came out as a whisper. See you, Vexmore. He said if the princess recovered, my failure to diagnose her would be exposed. My career would end. He promised if she died peacefully, my reputation would remain intact. Silence filled the room. You let me suffer for months, Lyra said quietly, to protect your reputation. I am sorry, Princess. I am so sorry. Drenkar seized Zarkoth by the arm. You're under arrest. As guards escorted the physician away, Emma returned to Lyra's side. The princess was shaking. How could he? Lyra whispered. I trusted him. Fear makes people do terrible things, Emma said softly. But you're going to be okay now. We'll finish the treatment. You'll recover. Lyra looked at her with tears in her eyes. You saved my life. A stranger from another world saved my life when my own people wanted me dead. Not all your people. Drenkar protected you. Ventera searched for truth. Amy stood guard. Good people are everywhere, Lyra. You just have to know where to look. The princess managed a weak smile. Teach me to see them, then. When I'm well enough to rule. You'll teach yourself, Emma said. You're stronger than you think. Outside, 3 suns set over Zirath Prime, painting the sky in shades of purple and gold. The next morning brought transformation. Lyra sat up without assistance for the first time in months. Color returned to her skin, shifting from deathly gray to healthy blue. She ate breakfast slowly, savoring each bite as taste returned to her senses. "This is remarkable," she said, between careful spoonfuls of warm grain porridge. I'd forgotten what food was supposed to taste like. Emma monitored the readings with quiet satisfaction. Your body is responding even better than I hoped. The allergen is clearing from your system and the inflammation is dropping fast. How long until I'm fully recovered? Another week of treatment, then several weeks of rest and rehabilitation. You've lost a lot of muscle mass. Building that back will take time." Lyra nodded. Then her expression grew serious. "Emma, there's something I need to tell you about. Something I haven't shared with anyone." Emma set down her tablet. "Go ahead." "When I died the first time, during the combat games, I experienced something. A place. A darkness so complete it felt like being erased from existence." Lyra's voice dropped to barely a whisper. "But I wasn't alone there. I felt presences. Voices without sound. They told me I didn't belong, or that I'd already crossed over. That sounds terrifying." It was. But the second time I died, 4 months ago, it was different. The presences were angry. They said I'd cheated death once already. That coming back again violated natural law. Lyra looked at her hands. "When the revival technology brought me back, I felt something break inside me, like a cord snapping. I knew then that I was living on borrowed time." Emma processed this carefully. "Lyra, what you experienced might have been hallucinations caused by oxygen deprivation. The brain does strange things when dying. Perhaps. Or perhaps I truly did die, and some part of me remains on the other side." Lyra met Emma's eyes. "What if Zarkoth was right in a way he didn't understand? What if I'm not meant to live? That's not how medicine works. You're alive. Your body is healing. Yeah, whatever you experience doesn't change the fact that you're here now." A knock at the door interrupted them. Captain Drenkar entered, followed by Scholar Ventera and a Zarathian Emma hadn't met before. This one was tall even for their species, wearing robes marked with symbols of high authority. "Princess," Drenkar said formally, "Court Chancellor Vexmore requests an audience." Lyra's expression hardened. "Does he now? Let him enter." Vexmore swept into the room with practiced grace. His movements were smooth, calculated. Everything about him screamed politician. "Princess Lyra, how wonderful to see you recovering. The entire court celebrates this miracle." "Do they?" Lyra's tone was ice. "The entire court? Or just those who didn't want me dead?" Vexmore's smile never wavered. "I don't understand, Princess. Who would wish you harm?" "You tell me, Chancellor." "Scholar Ventara discovered that you supported reintroducing Velshara incense to royal ceremonies. The same incense that's been poisoning me for 8 months. A coincidence. I simply felt we should honor ancient traditions." "Traditions that were banned specifically because they killed my ancestors?" Lyra leaned forward. "You knew. You studied the old texts when you first joined the court. You knew exactly what that incense would do to me. Accusations without proof, Princess. I acted in good faith, believing the old ways would bring blessings to the royal family." Emma watched the exchange carefully. Vexmore was good. Too good. His body language showed no deception, no nervousness. Either he was completely innocent or he'd been planning this for a very long time. "Yeah, Scholar Ventara," Vexmore continued smoothly. "Did you find any documents stating I knew about the House Veltaran allergy?" Ventera shifted uncomfortably. "No, Chancellor. The records show only that you proposed the change, not your reasoning." "Then I suggest we focus on the princess's recovery rather than baseless conspiracy theories." Vexmore turned to Emma. "Dr. Clark, you have my gratitude for your service. Earth should be proud." He left before anyone could respond. Emma felt frustrated anger building in her chest. "He's going to get away with it." "Probably," Lyra said quietly. "Without proof of intent, he can claim ignorance, and he's too politically powerful to accuse without certainty." "But you almost died." "Almost. But I didn't, thanks to you." Lyra smiled sadly. "Sometimes justice is slower than we'd like, but it comes eventually." Over the next 2 days, Lyra's improvement continued. She walked short distances with support. Her appetite returned fully. Strength flowed back into her muscles. The palace buzzed with excitement and relief. But Emma noticed something strange. Zarkoth had been confined to quarters pending investigation, yet twice Emma caught Zarathian officials entering his rooms late at night. She mentioned it to Amy during an evening walk through the palace gardens. "They're probably coordinating their stories," Amy suggested, "making sure everyone's protected." "Or destroying evidence," Emma said. "I don't trust this. It feels too neat." They rounded a corner and nearly walked into Scholar Ventera. The elderly Zarathian looked distressed, his robes disheveled. "Dr. Clark," he said urgently, I need to speak with you privately." Amy tensed, but Emma nodded. They found a quiet alcove away from listening ears. "I've discovered something terrible," Ventera said, his voice shaking. "I went deeper into the historical archives. The Velshara ban wasn't just about allergies. 300 years ago, it was used deliberately as an assassination tool. A rival house introduced it to ceremonies specifically to kill members of House Velterin." "We suspected that," Emma said. "But can you prove Vexmore knew?" "Not directly, but I found his personal research notes from 20 years ago. He wrote extensively about that assassination. He studied every detail of how it was done." Ventera pulled out a data crystal. "This is a copy. The original is still in the restricted archives." Emma took the crystal carefully. "This proves premeditation. He researched the method years before proposing the change." "Yes, but there's more. I found medical records showing Princess Lyra died twice before. The revival technology saved her, but each death weakened her substantially. If someone knew about her deaths, they'd also know she was more vulnerable to poison." "Zarkoth knew," Emma said, pieces clicking together. "He treated her both times. He knew exactly how weak she was." "Which means he and Vexmore likely worked together from the beginning," Amy added. "The Chancellor provided the poison. The physician made sure it worked." Ventara nodded miserably. "I brought this to the Emperor this morning. He's ordered a full investigation. Both Vexmore and Zarkoth will face trial." Emma felt a weight lift from her shoulders. "Finally, on justice." "There's one more thing," Ventera said hesitantly. "In my research, I found references to the void, to the place beyond death. Several historical figures who were revived reported similar experiences to what the princess described. Presences, voices, warnings." "What does it mean?" Emma asked. "I don't know. But according to ancient texts, those who return from death are marked, changed. They exist between two states of being." Ventera looked troubled. "The texts call them the twice-born. They say such individuals are freed from normal rules of succession and duty." "Because they've already died?" Amy said skeptically. "Because they've seen what lies beyond and chosen to return anyway. That choice makes them something new, something that belongs neither fully to life nor to death." Emma thought about Lyra's words, her descriptions of the void. "She said she felt like part of her stayed there, on the other side." "Perhaps it did," Ventera said softly. "Which means she's no longer entirely the person she was. In traditional law, that could mean she's released from her obligations as princess. She would be free to choose her own path." The implications were staggering. Emma returned to Lyra's chamber to find the princess standing at the window, looking out over the capital city. She moved carefully but without assistance. "I heard about Ventara's discovery," Lyra said without turning around. "Vexmore will face trial. So will Zarkoth. Does that bring you satisfaction?" "Some. Mostly I feel tired." Lyra turned to face Emma. "Ventara also told me about the twice-born, always about what it means legally and spiritually. What will you do?" Lyra was quiet for a long moment. "I've been thinking about Zarkoth's warning. He told you I would not live. He meant it medically, but perhaps he was right in another way. The princess who was dying, who was trapped by duty and tradition and poisoned by those she trusted, that person won't live. Can't live. She died when I did. And who are you now? Someone new, someone who's seen the void and come back. Someone who knows what truly matters?" Lyra smiled. Someone who wants to change things, to make sure what happened to me never happens to anyone else. Emma moved to stand beside her at the window. That sounds like someone worth saving. You gave me a second chance, Emma. Actually, a third chance. I intend to use it well. Below them, on the city sprawled in all its alien beauty. 3 suns painted the sky in colors Earth would never see. What happens next? Emma asked. Lyra's smile widened. Now I finish healing. Then I start fighting. Not with weapons, but with ideas. With change. With the truth about what happened here. Your people might not want to hear it. Some won't, but others will. And those are the ones I'll stand with. Lyra placed a hand on Emma's shoulder. Will you stay while I recover? I could use a friend who sees clearly. Someone not bound by our traditions and blind spots. I'll stay as long as you need me, Emma promised. In the distance, palace bells began to ring. The announcement of the princess's recovery, spreading hope through the capital. But Emma knew the real work was just beginning. Healing Lyra's body was the easy part. Healing the corruption that had tried to kill her would take much longer. 2 weeks later, Princess Lyra stood before the gathered court without assistance. Her skin glowed with healthy blue tones. Her eyes were clear and sharp. She wore formal robes of deep purple, marking her as a member of the royal family, but she'd added a human medical symbol to the collar as a tribute to Emma. The throne room was packed. Every noble, every official, every priest who could claim importance stood in attendance. Emperor HFY sat on his throne, his expression unreadable. To his left, in chains, stood Court Chancellor Vexmore and High Physician Zarkoth. Emma watched from the side of the room, standing with Ambassador Kevin Morris and Lieutenant Amy Foster. Scholar Ventera stood nearby, clutching his research materials nervously. The court is assembled, the Emperor declared. Princess Lyra has requested to speak. We grant her this honor. Lyra walked to the center of the room. Her movements were steady and strong. When she spoke, her voice carried to every corner. 3 months ago, I was dying. High Physician Zarkoth told everyone I had blood rot, an incurable disease. He said nothing could save me. He gave me days to live. She paused, letting the words sink in. He was wrong. Not about medicine, but about truth. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Lyra continued. I did not have blood rot. I was being poisoned slowly by Velshara incense, introduced into our royal ceremonies 8 months ago. An incense banned 300 years ago because it kills members of my family line. She turned to face Vexmore directly. Orky Court Chancellor Vexmore proposed reintroducing this incense. He claimed it would bring blessings and honor ancient traditions. But Scholar Ventara discovered that the Chancellor had researched the original assassination method years before making his proposal. He knew exactly what the incense would do to me. Vexmore's face remained calm. Research is not proof of intent, Princess. I studied many historical events during my career. True, Lyra acknowledged. But you also ensured that I attended every ceremony where the incense was burned. My siblings were conveniently assigned other duties. Only I was required to breathe that poison 3 times every week. Coincidence and duty assignments, Vexmore said smoothly. Nothing more. Lyra smiled coldly. Perhaps. But High Physician Zarkoth has already confessed. And shall we hear his testimony? The crowd erupted in shocked whispers. Zarkoth hung his head in shame. Speak, the Emperor commanded. Zarkoth's voice was broken and small. Chancellor Vexmore approached me 6 months ago. He said the princess was dying, and my failure to cure her would destroy my reputation. He offered me a choice. Let her die peacefully and retire with honor, or fight to save her and be exposed as incompetent when she died anyway. And you chose your reputation over your patient's life, Lyra said quietly. I thought she would die regardless, Zarkoth whispered. She had already died twice before, been revived twice. I believed she was meant to die. That fighting, it was pointless. So you told Dr. Clark that I would not live. You tried to stop her treatment. You even attempted to remove her equipment by force. Yes, I am sorry, Princess. I am deeply ashamed. Emperor Kethaval leaned forward. Chancellor Vexmore, do you deny these accusations? I deny nothing and admit nothing, Vexmore said carefully. Zarkoth's testimony is the word of a confessed conspirator trying to reduce his own guilt. There is no physical evidence linking me to any crime. Actually, there is, Scholar Ventera said, stepping forward nervously. He held up the data crystal. Your personal research notes, Chancellor. 20 years of study on how House Velterin was assassinated using Velshura incense, including detailed notes on dosage, exposure frequency, and expected timeline of death. Vexmore's composure finally cracked. Those are private academic materials. They prove intellectual curiosity, yet nothing more. They prove premeditation, the Emperor said coldly. You studied how to kill my daughter for 20 years, then implemented exactly that method when the opportunity arose. You cannot prove I intended. Silence. The Emperor's voice thundered through the hall. You have betrayed the crown. You have attempted to murder a princess of the realm. Both you and Zarkoth are found guilty of conspiracy and treason. Guards moved forward to take the prisoners away. Vexmore struggled briefly, then went quietly. Zarkoth simply wept. When the room settled, Lyra spoke again. There is more I must say, about myself, about what I've become. The crowd leaned forward, curious. I have died twice. My heart stopped. My brain ceased function. I was gone. Lyra's voice was steady but emotional. Revival technology brought me back, but something changed. I saw the void beyond life. I felt presences there. And when I returned, part of me stayed behind. Emma watched faces in the crowd shift from confusion to understanding. Some of the older Zarathians nodded knowingly. According to ancient law, I am twice born. I have crossed the boundary between life and death and returned. Legally, this means I am no longer bound by normal rules of succession. Spiritually, it means I am something new. Neither fully alive in the traditional sense nor dead. I exist between states. What are you saying, daughter? The Emperor asked quietly. I am saying that the princess you knew died on that medical table 4 months ago. The person standing before you is someone else. Someone who has seen what lies beyond and chose to come back. Someone who was saved not by our traditions or our medicine, but by a stranger from another world who saw clearly what we could not. Lyra turned to face Emma directly. Dr. Emma Clark saved my life through science, compassion, and the courage to challenge powerful people. She represents everything I want our civilization to become. Open to new ideas. Willing to question tradition. Putting truth above politics. Emma felt her cheeks flush as thousands of Zarathian eyes turned toward her. I could remain in the line of succession, Lyra continued, but I choose differently. I choose to use my unique position to create change. As twice born, I am freed from traditional obligations. I will use that freedom to establish a new institution. A center for medical research and cultural exchange between our people and humanity. The Emperor stood slowly. You would give up your claim to the throne? I would transform it into something better. Something that serves our people more than a title ever could. Lyra smiled. I died so the old ways of thinking could die with me. I came back so something new could be born. Silence filled the massive hall. Then, slowly, someone began to clap. Then another. Then dozens. Then hundreds. The sound built like a wave. Emma found herself surrounded by well-wishers. Zarathians she'd never met thanked her for saving their princess. Scientists asked about her methods. Young physicians wanted to learn from her. Later that evening, Emma and Lyra stood together on a balcony overlooking the capital. 3 suns were setting, painting the sky in impossible colors. Are you sure about this? Emma asked. Giving up the throne is a big decision. I'm not giving it up. I'm transforming it. Lyra looked peaceful. My brother will make a fine emperor someday. He's strong and traditional. Our people need that stability. But they also need progress, change. That's what I can offer now. What will you call this new institution? I was thinking the Threshold Institute. For those who exist on thresholds between different worlds, different states of being, different ways of thinking. Lyra glanced at Emma. Will you help me build it? Stay here as co-director? Emma thought about Earth, about her life there. Then she looked at the alien city below, full of possibility and challenge. I'll stay for a year, help you establish the foundation, train your physicians, and then we'll see. Fair enough. Lyra extended her hand in the human gesture Emma had taught her. Partners? Emma shook it firmly. Partners. Behind them, the palace buzzed with activity. News of the trial's outcome spread through the city. People celebrated in the streets. The princess who had almost died was not only alive but transformed into something new, a symbol of change and hope. In his quarters, Zarkoth wrote a letter of apology to Lyra. He would spend years in confinement, but perhaps he would find redemption eventually. In a prison cell, Vexmore plotted appeals and political maneuvers. His plans had failed, but his mind never stopped scheming. And in the human embassy, Ambassador Kevin Morris sent a report to Earth describing humanity's first major success in alien diplomacy. Not through trade agreements or military alliances, but through simple compassion and medical science. You know what's funny? Lyra said suddenly. Zarkoth's warning was accurate after all. He told you I would not live. And he was right. The princess he knew, the one who was dying, she didn't live. She died and became someone else. Someone better, Emma said. Someone different, at least. Someone who understands that death is not the end. That transformation is possible. That strangers can become friends, and outsiders can see truth that insiders miss. The last sun dipped below the horizon. Stars began to appear in the darkening sky. Stars that shone over both Zareth Prime and Earth, connecting two worlds that had found unexpected friendship. Thank you, Emma, Lyra said softly, for seeing me when others looked away, for believing I could live when everyone else had given up, for teaching me that the greatest strength isn't surviving death, but choosing how to live after you return from it. Emma smiled. That's not something I taught you. That's something you learned yourself. Then thank you for giving me the chance to learn. They stood together in comfortable silence as night fell over the palace. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new work, new struggles to reform ancient systems and bridge cultures separated by light years. But tonight, they simply existed in the moment. Two people from different worlds who had found common ground in the most unlikely circumstances. The twice-born princess and the human doctor who refused to let her die. And somewhere in the void beyond life, perhaps the presences Lyra had encountered watched with something like approval. Because she had chosen not just to live, but to live with purpose. To transform tragedy into hope. To prove that death's warning could be defied not through fear, but through courage, friendship, and the simple act of caring for another living being. The stars shone brighter. The future stretched out, unknown and full of possibility. And in that moment, everything was exactly as it should be.